Hello and welcome to episode 10 of the Get Hitched live wedding chat show. Today we have an exciting guest, Alexia from Wedinmalta. We'll be talking about weddings in Malta, specifically destination weddings. So foreign couples getting married in Malta from all over the world. I'm excited because we've reached a milestone already of episode 10. So that's quite impressive. We've had great shows along the way with different co-hosts and different guests. So today I'm excited to go into destination weddings specifically with Alexia. I'm going to bring her into the stream right now. Please join me in welcoming her. Okay, so give me a second here. Okay. Hi, Alexia. How's it going?
Hi, Malta. Hi, world. All good here. Thank you.
Brilliant. This funny thing. I have an I have an Alexa on my desk, and she actually is trying to speak to me right now because I said your name. So I have to be careful not to mention your name because she's gonna stay speaking to me. That's amazing. Something we didn't think of. All right, so funny start to the show, Alexia. Thanks for making it. I'm really excited for the show.
Thank you
If,
very much.
if you could tell us a bit about who you are, what you do, Wed Malta, the whole shebang.
Okay. Yeah, my name is Alexia. I'm a mommy, first of all, because I have two kids and I'm trying to homeschool at the moment.
Wow. Okay.
Um, my background when it comes to all this, I studied at ITS. I finished my course many moons ago. I did my work placements abroad and started working in the hospitality industry pretty much right away. I worked in five-star properties. And later on, I went into organizing weddings, and this is the ninth year of Wedding Malta.
Wow. Ninth year, you said.
Yes,
Amazing. Congratulations.
thank you.
Cool. So, and you focus mostly on, we can go into the first question, which is your clients. Would you say your clients are mostly local or foreign when it comes to the weddings?
Our main market is mostly the foreign market. We do a handful of Maltese weddings a year, mostly to keep involved in the local market because we also like the Maltese and the local vibe when it
Right.
comes to weddings. But the majority would be solely, I'd say it would be destination weddings from all over the world.
Okay, cool. And how did you happen to come into this? Is it like, did you first start with local weddings through the connections and networks that you had, and then you started looking into foreign markets, or what was the journey there?
So what happened was this. I used to work in a DMC company, and they wanted to launch this wedding thing, this project before I took it over solely myself. And they just told me, listen, you have this project, just try and do whatever you can with this project. I wanted to do both. So I wanted to do both the local and the foreign. In fact, my very first wedding was a local wedding, the very first wedding with Wedinmalta.
Right.
But as it happened, and as it evolved, it went onto the destination wedding side of things more than the local. So we just kept that recipe basically. I mean, we tried to find a balance in the beginning and try to have both, but then we decided to leverage more towards the destination market. We don't
Right.
we don't just do weddings. I mean, we do everything that revolves around the couple in the sense that it's quite broad. It's not just the wedding, but we do renewal of vows, honeymoons,
Right.
elopements, and you name it.
Right. And so from the Maltese wedding to the foreign weddings, did it happen just by chance, maybe because they were guests at the local wedding, or they found you on Facebook or online? How did they
It's all
approach you?
online. Ben, it's all online. I mean, we've never marketed anything on paper. It's all online. It started happening. I mean, by chance. In the beginning, it's a bit of a hit and miss. You market
Right.
here, you market there, and then you find the balance and the best way to have exposure. But
Right.
I say it's all online from day one.
Okay, cool. And when you say that you handle more than the wedding and the suppliers of that, like so the renewal of the vows, the honeymoon. So we're always talking about couples and their immediate family or friends and family, or do you even go outside of that with non-wedding clients as well?
It goes ultra in the sense that when it comes to elopements, for example, you're
Mhm.
looking at a situation where you just have the couple. It's not the
Right.
first time that I, together with my colleague, plays the witness in the wedding.
Wow. Okay.
So yes, you have it varies a lot, and that's the beauty of weddings. You have symbolic weddings, for example, where you are mimicking really and truly a civil ceremony, but you don't have the paperwork. So those couples who are afraid of sending their documents over to Malta, who do not want to go into the hassle of
Right.
providing documentation, can literally mimic a civil ceremony using a symbolic wedding. Guests would not even know this. So
Right. Right. Sure. Okay. And so going kind of into destination weddings, which is kind of your forte or where you'd like to focus. So how do you now, once you have established yourself in destination weddings, what is your toolkit for now getting more clients? Do you use Facebook? Do you go to wedding fairs abroad? Do you have your website? I know you have your website, but what is your strategy to get these clients to Malta?
well, we use platforms like you guys, for example, and you play a big role in
Thank you.
promoting us.
Thank
um, but it's all online, as I said before. However,
you.
it's a bit of a mix as well. Very recently, we started even going abroad. We had the opportunity to place ourselves abroad, and it's not something that we basically want to close our doors to. On the other hand, we would like to try and put ourselves out there even more. So yes, attending fairs is something
Right.
that we would like to do even more once the airports are open.
Yeah, I mean that's a very good point. So, and maybe a bit of a sensitive question. So, apologies if I put you on the spot, but how has now the situation going, how is the situation now going to change your strategy or your direction, where maybe you had more of your focus on destination weddings where there's an element of uncertainty because of the ports and because of the airports and ports. So will you maybe shift a bit more now to local weddings, or are you busy enough, and I know you're quite busy with postponing all this of the foreign market?
Yes, I mean, we're pretty set for 2021 thanks to COVID. So
Okay.
besides the bookings that we had already for 2021, we shifted all the bookings from 2020 to 2021. We still have a few who have not really given up on it, but
Right.
pretty much they're gonna all be shifted. The strategy, I'm still hopeful on destination weddings. And I think that the situation will come to a new normal.
Right.
So I would not like to shift my spotlight as yet. I still think that our strength and our place is destination weddings. But local weddings are just as fun, you know. I mean, we can do so much with local weddings. So if
Yeah.
it had to be local weddings, so be it. We welcome it with open arms. Why not?
Sure, fair enough. And I like your positive energy in terms of that. Yes, everything passes, good and bad.
Sure.
So yeah, Malta is a jewel in the Mediterranean. We still have our charm, and what attracts people to Malta hasn't gone away, and hopefully it won't. So I would expect Malta to actually
Yeah.
boom. It will
And
boom. Like
yeah. And another good thing is that we've done pretty well with COVID. So I think that's a
exactly.
plus point for us as well.
Cool. All right. Amazing, thank you. So, in terms of destination weddings, how would you say, for the viewers, what are the main differences between a destination wedding and a local wedding?
Um, I mean, it is a wedding, and in itself, although all weddings are different, so we can't really compare even from one to another.
Sure.
The main difference would be that they are smaller.
Okay.
We see hundreds of people attending a local wedding most of
Hmm.
the time.
Yeah.
Um, vis-a-vis smaller weddings when it comes to destination weddings. Destination weddings are more inclined towards civil ceremonies rather than religious ceremonies and religious masses. And other than that, there's the element of sit down. So we're more inclined towards having a reception and mingling with guests whilst we're eating and drinking, standing up. Foreign and destination weddings, more often than not, the majority would have a sit down meal. So those are the main differences, I'd say.
Right. We had some shows even like with photographers and different operators, and they kind of forecast or think that the way forward for weddings in Malta is that they would start to resemble more destination weddings in terms of size, maybe even sit down so that there is this spacing and all this stuff. And even like we've seen this in the news that more and more weddings in Malta there are more civil weddings in Malta than there are religious weddings. And I personally, the last I think 3 or 4 weddings I've been to were all civil. Are you seeing that this trend yourself in
Yeah.
a change in Maltese weddings?
Yes, yes. I think Maltese weddings are changing. Those who do not practice religion in the day-to-day life are opting more towards civil ceremonies.
Right.
Although I think the majority is still religious at the moment.
Hmm.
However, it's changing. The pattern is indeed changing. The
Hmm.
numbers are indeed getting smaller as well,
Right.
and shrinking. And I do not discourage this in Maltese weddings at all. Because sometimes they're too large, and
Yeah.
the couple gets so stressed, because obviously they want everything to be perfect. But
Yeah.
it's nice to see that the numbers have shrunk a little bit as well from previous years.
Cool. Okay. I would like to. We have our first comment from here, Alberta. She said, "Hi, Alexa and Ben. Great to see you both." So, hello, Alberta. Thanks for your comment. Okay. So, going into the another question, Alexa. So, what? And I know that 25% of our audience, on average, on Get Hitch is foreign from all over the world, and we're going to go into different cultures and weddings. But at a high level, what do couples looking to get married in Malta need to consider? What do they need to think about when choosing Malta?
I'd say the first thing on top of my head would be the weather.
Right,
Most weddings happen in summer,
right,
for various reasons. Bank holidays, children are away from school. The weather is safer in itself, but heat in Malta is underestimated, and this is very common across the board when it
yes,
comes to foreign couples. The Maltese are afraid of the heat, so they know the element of heat. They are used to it. They know they have to create shading for the guests. They don't want to melt. So even the wedding maybe starts a little bit later during the hotter months.
right,
Foreigners, as much as you tell them, sometimes more than once, uh,
mm-hmm,
heat in Malta, make sure you're gonna sweat, you're gonna have a lot of light. So because a lot of light, a lot of natural light is not good for photography. Nothing is flattering in that light.
right,
Um, they underestimated, and then they end up coming to Malta and they thank us because we would have suggested to them, listen, make sure, try, and maybe, start the ceremony a little bit later, have
right,
to push a little bit back, and maybe then prolong it towards the end. It's not a problem. And yes, this is something very common which we face more often than not.
right,
You also have the element of the paperwork. The paperwork, for example, you have to be
yeah,
in Malta 2 working days before to do what we call the confirmation of marriage act,
right,
and which the locals don't have. They are more accommodated in that sense because they
mm-hmm,
just go and do it whenever they want. But with foreigners, they need to be in Malta at least 2 working days before.
right,
Accommodation for the guests. We are blessed in a way that we have so many hotels in Malta,
mm-hmm,
all very good. So they range from 5 star down. And we also have Airbnb, which is quite popular in Malta. And I've got to understand as well throughout the years that Airbnb in Malta is of good quality.
mm-hmm,
Not to mention also private homes and private villas, which is the in thing at the moment. Um,
right,
and these are also very, very popular. Now, a recommendation I'd say for both destination weddings and local,
Sure.
whatever you decide, whenever you decide to have the wedding, just make sure to have a backup plan. Mother Nature has been very sporadic. She has, a hard head, and we do not know when it's going to rain or when we're going to have, wind.
Yes.
So it's always good to have a backup plan. Let's not stress out. Let's make sure that we have peace of mind.
You're absolutely right. I mean, I'm gonna mention this again. I'm gonna mention my cousin's wedding for two reasons. But this about the wedding, I remember her having. She's English, and some half English, half Maltese. And she got married to a Greek person, and they came in Malta thinking like I think it was in August. For sure, the weather is gonna be fine. It was like one of the worst storms there ever was. So you really cannot rely so much on the weather anymore, to be honest.
No.
We are seeing a shift right now, even as well. I mean, many people tell me that it's normal, but like I can't believe how hot it is right now, I don't really recall it being this hot.
Exactly.
So
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. Yes.
We do have a comment here from Matt Hash. I'm assuming from Hash Studios, another supplier of ours. So hi, Matt. Thanks for tuning in. Great to hear a wedding planner considering the importance of light. Fair enough. Cool. So you mentioned the legal paperwork, Alexia.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a bit about this?
I mean, every country has different legislations, therefore different documents which are required. We're very familiar with the documentation nowadays, so we know if a person is coming from America or from Australia, what is needed, a person coming from the UK, what is needed. So we've never had a problem with regards to documents, so we never had to turn down a couple because they could not obtain the legal document. So this is not the case. However, when you get people coming from countries in the EU, certain things are easier. Whereas outside of the EU, they would need a particular stamp, which we call an apostille, for
Yes.
example, and they would need to obtain these kind of documentations and sending them over to us. We take care of that as well. So we guide them towards what they would need in terms of legal documentation, and we also hand them over to the marriage registry, so they do not need to be in Malta to submit their application. It's something that we do on their behalf. It's a bit of a tedious point,
Yes.
but it's overcome.
I was gonna mention this. Like, I think that people really underestimate the importance of the wedding planner taking this on your shoulders, because I had a small part, personally had a small part in this for the same wedding I mentioned. My cousin, who's half Maltese, half English, was getting married to a Greek person, and they had to apostille the documents, which were only in Greek, so they had to be translated, officially translated by. So it was a nightmare, and I was trying to just coordinate a bit in Malta because they were getting married in Malta and they were remote. But it was a real tedious process, which is very time consuming. So the fact that someone is taking care of this for you is a huge plus. So it should not be underestimated by the couples getting married, for sure. I
Absolutely.
can tell you myself. So you should thank your wedding planners for sure.
Thank you.
Okay. Going to the next question. So we spoke a bit about the destination weddings, and this is kind of your area of focus. But something I learned personally yesterday from Alberta, was that you focus a lot on gay weddings and African weddings, which I found extremely interesting.
Yes.
So can you tell us a bit about that, like gay and African weddings? Like, wow, that's quite unique.
I mean, I guess we were blessed. This came on its own, in the sense we did not market for it. We welcomed each and every wedding with open arms. But as it happened, let's take, for example, gay weddings. We started doing gay weddings as soon as the bill for same-sex marriage came in act. Before
Okay.
that, we had organized civil weddings before, which in some countries, this is still the only option, as same-sex marriage is not recognized everywhere, and therefore legal documentation cannot be issued for this purpose in some cases. But we organized a few gay weddings in the beginning, and
Hmm.
it got the ball rolling. You start talking about it, and you get one gay marriage after the other. We get gay marriages, same-sex marriages
Yeah.
for two people, and we get the fancier ones as well, and the over-the-top ones.
Amazing.
Both a lot of fun, a lot of fun.
Amazing.
With regards to African weddings, we did the first one, I think it was 4 or 5 years ago. Um, it was quite a big wedding. So African weddings are quite large. You cannot, for example, if you have families, you have to invite the entire family, not just the mother, the father, and the children. You have to invite the cousins and whatnot. So it keeps on growing. So they're quite large. They're pretty much like the Maltese weddings, maybe a little bit smaller. As soon as they're happy with you, as soon as the wedding is over and they're happy with you, I'm telling you, the word is spread, and you get one wedding after another. Oh yes, because I knew this guy from this guy, who knew that guy, whom you did the wedding for,
Wow.
and therefore we would like you. And it's become our thing. So yes, African weddings are a lot of fun as well. We love them. We love doing them.
Amazing. And you even mentioned before, like the word of mouth would happen between someone in Mozambique and in another country. How does that work? Because like Africa is not the smallest continent in the world, but so how, even the countries are quite large. So how would that happen? That someone in country X would recommend someone in country Y to come to Malta through you? I find it quite fascinating, to be
Yes,
honest.
yes, it is indeed. I mean, they have their own community platforms as well. So, like we follow Instagram and Facebook and what have you, they have their own pages as well. So it
Right.
happened that, for example, in a particular case, they use the same photographer. So the photographer was the middleman,
Wow.
the thing in common.
Right.
And he mentioned Malta. Oh, yes, I know wedding planner. We just had a wedding last year, and it just happened, you know. And since then, I think the same photographer came 4 or 5 times to Malta to
Right.
his wedding. So it was a win-win situation for him as well. And
Right.
yeah,
Cool. And how does again another interesting question, curious question and for me personally. So when in Malta, the majority we have seen from our platform at least are Irish and English weddings that come to Malta, and
yes.
one can start to understand maybe the connections that we had, British colony and all that. How does that work in terms of African weddings? What is the connection with Malta? Is it social political? Is it purely because hey, Malta seems like a great place? What is the driving factor for these people to come here versus
So
Cyprus versus Ibiza? I don't know.
most of the time, even though we're talking about Africans, they would be Africans living, for example, in the UK, or they
Right,
would be Africans living in Belgium or in
right,
France. We've had most of the African weddings happen like that. So they're living
okay,
in EU countries, so to speak,
right,
and they all know Malta as a destination already. So it's not like Malta is unknown to them. But because we speak the language and we are
okay,
so well connected as well, we happen to be a very popular destination.
amazing. Okay, so we would say it is mostly the language part, also the weather, and yeah, maybe the connection that they have because
Correct.
they are up, in the EU as well. Cool,
Correct. Correct.
awesome. All right, going on to our next question. So themed weddings, are they becoming more popular nowadays? Are they becoming more popular or not between locals versus foreign weddings? Destination weddings? Can you tell us a bit more about this?
If I had to say, I mean, if I had to speak about themed weddings, I'd say that every wedding, in some way or another, it's themed. So whether it's official that
Right,
has a theme or not, most of the time a wedding is indeed themed. The venue plays a big part. So as soon as a venue is picked, because most of the time what happens is this: the couples tell us we don't have a theme, we just have a color in mind, and other than that, nothing.
right.
The venue is chosen, and all of a sudden, a team starts evolving. And this is because if they choose, for example, a garden venue or a beach venue, you start seeing the elements of that same venue coming to life with the things that you are putting together during the planning.
Sure.
So in some ways, there is some sort of planning. However, official themed weddings are on the increase, for sure. We are very lucky to have suppliers in Malta who have a lot of things to offer in terms of creating something a little bit different. I mean, to give you an example, last September,
Hmm.
yes, Independence Day. We had a themed wedding in one of the largest gardens in Malta, and it was a Cirque du Soleil themed wedding. And
Wow.
I
Okay.
mean, we've created and we pulled off a really nice wedding. We were very proud of this. So they had a vision. They came with a vision and they told us, listen, we want something different. We've been to Cirque du Soleil and we're amazed. And although we told them, listen, this is a wedding and make sure
Yeah.
remains on you.
Yeah.
We had acrobats, we had cabaret dancers, contortionists, jugglers, illusionists,
Wow.
tilt walkers, you name it. It was amazing. And then when you see the
Wow.
people coming together, it's quite something. We've
Yeah.
had other unusual ones as well. I mean, a particular one I remember, which was in Gozo many, many years ago. Um, the groom was obsessed. He was obsessed with fireworks. He was in his mid 60s, a good human being, a really nice man. And he was obsessed with Maltese fireworks. He used to come to Malta every year for the fireworks festival. And apart from the fact that they had fireworks act throughout their wedding, they wanted to do something a little bit different. So they called everyone up for the cutting of the cake. They knew what was coming, so as soon as they were walking towards the cake, this cake exploded, and we had fireworks coming out of this blessed cake. I'm telling you, it was quite something.
Amazing.
Everything went well. We signed quite a few papers and disclaimers from the hotel, but yes, it was quite.
Yeah, I can imagine that it was kind of a big deal to deal with all the permits and police and first aid if it was at that scale.
Yes, 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 absolutely.
Cool. Actually, I Alberta read my mind because I was gonna ask this question as well. Like I was gonna ask you, like, if the Soleil one wedding was the best or funnest wedding you've ever had. But we can ask the question. Maybe you can share. Albert said, would you share with us perhaps the funnest or funnest wedding you are most proud of planning in your career? I read that wrong, but yeah, the wedding you enjoy doing the most or you're the proud of the most.
There are so many. Because what happens is this, Ben, throughout the wedding planning, you end up doing lots and lots of friends. So it could be a wedding of 10 people. And it
Right.
would still, for example, one wedding I remember, and I'm still very good friends of this couple. And from here, I mean, I can say their name.
Feel free to mention. Yeah.
Carol and Declan, hello, if you're following. They're an Irish couple, a very small wedding, but I'm telling you, they're still friends with us till this very day. So that for me, although it's small and maybe not as grand as others,
Yeah.
it remains special, you know. Another African wedding, for example, Hope and Senna, they remained very close to me, and
Yeah.
it's nice. It's nice to have them in our lives. So I can't really pinpoint and say, listen, that would be it would be the best wedding I've done so far. And I'm very proud of
Yeah.
many weddings. There are a lot of learning curves, so that's another thing, a very important thing. From every wedding, you learn something new. It's amazing, Ben. I mean, throughout the years, I keep saying the same thing over and over again. You learn something new, and it's amazing. What was okay, for example, yesterday is not okay today, and you need to
Sure.
find a way to change it.
Yeah, uh, for sure. I mean, that's a great answer because every it's the best is a very big word to say, right? So, and
Yeah.
again, this is very subjective, and every wedding is unique. Something that came to my mind actually is that when we spoke to some other suppliers, they actually told us that many destination couples sometimes they haven't even came to Malta once.
True.
So the fact that you mentioned that you became friends with some of these clients, did that spark them to come to Malta again because they enjoyed the experience with you? They loved Malta and they're like, wow, we should come
Oh,
to Malta.
absolutely. I mean, we get a lot of invitations from couples who would have gotten married, either to meet for dinner or whatever. I mean, most of them come for the first anniversary as well.
Wow. Okay.
So that's a very common thing to have them come for the first year anniversary to Malta.
Cool. Okay. We actually have a question here from Matt, Alexa. It's not going to show on the screen, so I'll go ahead and read it. Hi, Ben, Alexia. Question if possible. Do you think the issue of overdevelopment, ongoing construction, is having an impact on overall satisfaction of visiting foreign wedding clients? So, construction, ongoing construction in Malta, relentless construction, if it is affecting their experience in Malta, would you say?
I have not had this comment from foreign couples. However, it is always at the back of my mind. In the sense,
Right,
even though I have not had this question directly from couples, it bothers me. So I'm in the car with them, for example, meeting them and showing them around
right.
for potentially coming to do their wedding here and going through construction sites. Malta so beautiful. There's so
Hmm.
much to offer and seeing construction ongoing. Luckily, obviously for them, they're only here for a few days, so it does not bother them as much as it bothers us probably.
Yeah.
But it is something that sometimes it's an eyesore. Luckily, during the peak season, main construction is on the low, but it is something that we have to consider for sure because
For
it might impact for sure this market.
For sure, and we need to be careful not to destroy Malta's charm, right? Because we still have it, but slowly, it is being etched away. I would say, we don't want to just Malta shouldn't become just another big city because we're not, right? We are an island, although we are operating that way. It would be a shame if we do turn it into one big city,
Yeah.
when the whole charm and point character of Malta is that we are not.
Yeah.
So it's a very valid question, Matt, and let's hope that Alex's experience is the same with other people and will remain the same. Going on to actually maybe it's kind of in connection with your question, Matt, is so if that is a pitfall, right? If it is affecting them, their experience in Malta, that's a pitfall. But are there any other pitfalls that are waiting couples that when coming to Malta? Would you say?
Other pitfalls other than one major pitfall I can mention, and it's definitely going to be something which we are going to be facing in the coming years, is COVID-19.
Hmm.
It's been a pitfall for this year, and I am sure we are going to take pandemics as something that could potentially we keep facing. I
Hmm.
mean, it was not something that we knew it was coming, but I'd say it could be a pitfall. Then you have something like availability. You have scenarios where locals tend to go for book their wedding a lot earlier, sometimes 2 or 3 years earlier. So foreign couples tend to not find the popular days in the popular months. But from our experience, we suggest weekdays. We try and go for Mondays and Thursday to try and get a long weekend, and that so far has worked. But other than that, I don't see any other pitfalls in other areas that locals don't face.
Right.
Nothing that really I would say that would be a pitfall. And then there's that two-day thing that they need to be here in Malta for the confirmation of marriage act. Other than
Right.
that, I mean, it's very easy to get married and to do a destination wedding in Malta.
Right. That's actually a very interesting thing. Again, I was always curious about it. And maybe this is the reason what you just mentioned. But why would you say foreign weddings in Malta are done more often than not during the weekday versus the weekend in Maltese weddings? Is it purely because that's what they want their year on holiday, so why not? Or is it because many of the dates would have already been taken by other weddings and local weddings?
It's a mix of both. It's a mix
Okay.
of both. Also, to mention, some venues offer better deals during the week rather than in the weekend.
Sure.
So when you're sending a proposal out and you're proposing weekdays prices and weekend prices where possible, there's obviously a difference. So
Right.
that's also something which attracts them to go for a weekday wedding.
Okay. Fair enough. Thank you. We do have a comment. So we do have two comments. So Matt said, where is it here? So thanks. Wish I could say, but daddy duty's call. Best wishes to both. So thank you, Matt. Enjoy the kids. And we have a question here from Glor, who said, "Hi Alexa, what is your opinion on just a planner service on the day or full planning from A to Z?"
Um, to answer that question, I mean, it could be twofold. First of all, we have to see what are the demands of a couple.
Hmm.
How busy is the couple and how much involved they would like to be. You have couples where they just don't want to do anything in the sense they don't want the stress of the wedding, they want to enjoy the wedding. Some that want to be involved partially. So you're going to do part planning. And
Right.
others who want to do the whole planning because they want to be on board with it, but then they don't want to stress out on the day. So they pass on the buck to the wedding planner.
Right.
Obviously with all the negatives that comes with it. But let's say it's all right. So there are different scenarios. It is always good to keep in mind that even if you hire a wedding planner for the day, or if you hire a wedding planner for parts, the services, do not feel bad if you want to then at some point let the wedding planner do it all for you. We consult the couple, so we don't just decide on something and go for it. We consult, we get prices, we speak to suppliers, we suggest suppliers, and we suggest suppliers because we know by now from experience what each supplier can give and can present on the table to the
Yeah.
couple. But never feel bad for hiring a wedding planner for, say, part of the services and then shifting your mind to having it all done by the wedding planner.
Yeah.
A wedding planner is there not to take your money, but to help you.
Yeah.
And we are obsessed with weddings, and this is why we do weddings.
Yeah.
Weddings are our thing, so we love doing them, and we're not scared of them. Whereas a couple could be doing them for the first time, and therefore they might be scared of certain things.
Yeah, and especially, I mean, it depends on how much they know, how much work there's involved. Let's say when we're talking about posting the documents on that, if they are if they are foreign, they have no idea to which even department they need to go, or So if they have time to do that from a remote country, which I doubt,
Yeah.
then so be it. But if they're getting married here, they will need someone like yourself to do that service for sure.
Yes. Yes.
Cool. So we do have another question here, Alexa from Mark Mitzi. Hi, Ale. What about weddings that are celebrated on more than one day, say like Indian weddings? Um, I'm assuming like how if there are any difference between one-day weddings versus multi-day weddings.
So this happens most of the time, even when it comes to British weddings, for example. We get weddings, they do the welcome party the day before, and they do something on the lines of a barbecue or something more casual the day after the wedding. When it comes
Right.
to Indian wedding, it could be a 3 or 4 day thing. We've done it. We've been there before. We've done Indian weddings as well. Um, it's very nice. So you see the traditions changing and cultures but it is something that is done. And Malta is a destination which can cater for these things. We
Hmm.
are so diverse in that sense that we can provide different things on different dates with no problem. And we have venues which can cater for larger numbers, venues which can cater for smaller numbers. We have very good catering suppliers as well. I mean, we have caterers who have done all sorts of things when it comes to weddings. We've seen all sorts of things happening. So yes, Malta is a good destination in that sense. And
Brilliant.
Gozo, not to forget Gozo.
Of course. Yeah, that's that's actually, excuse me, that is actually a question. So, how do you see the split between Malta and Gozo for foreign weddings? my personal experience is that when I had weddings from foreigners, totally unrelated to Malta, no connection with Malta whatsoever, they chose Gozo. I don't know if it's a personal experience or if you see this yourself.
We've had a number of Gozitin weddings. We do a lot of weddings in Gozo, and we love that as well. Um, in Gozo, there are some very, very nice properties, huh? And so
Right.
let's not underestimate Gozo, apart from being greener. Matt Hush can probably say more about this, but Gozo is a very, very nice destination. I had to call it like that, but it has a lot to offer. And they have very good accommodation. So you find very good accommodation at very good prices in Gozo. Um, Farmhouses, villas, there are large villas which can cater for larger numbers as well, for those maybe those weddings where they would like to stay together as well in the same property. So yes, Gozo it's tough to beat as well.
Right. So, and do you see any preference? Alberta asked this question as well. Do you see any preference between Malta and Gozo, and what, if yes, what are the reasons? You touched on it a bit.
It's so beautiful to have both because I mean, you get to travel to Gozo, you get to do weddings in Malta. It's nice. I'd say it's at par. I won't prefer one to the other. But it's good to have a balance. It's good to have some weddings in Gozo as well. It's good to have.
Right.
It's
And
good to
do you actually see this maybe with foreign couples that they, I don't know, they get married in Malta and then they say, "Well, we're gonna go to a weekend break in Gozo. We're gonna go on a boat around Gozo." I
Yes,
guess it's quite normal, right?
very common, correct. Yeah.
Cool. All right. I am aware of the time. We are over time technically because we're at 44 minutes already. So we are going. Thank you so much, guys. By the way, for all the questions in the feed, it's been amazing. Feel free to send in any other questions that you have in the last few minutes that we have. I am going to the next question, Alexa, which is technically the final one. But what would you say is the typical budget of a cool, not too fancy wedding
Okay.
nowadays?
I can't really put a number on it because it depends on many factors. Many couples come with different needs and wants and whatnot. But depending on what they want, we work with all budgets. So we had reduced budgets when we
Mhm.
spoke. When you speak to the couple, you don't know whether they have a larger budget or whether they have a reduced budget. Some couples don't even have a budget, so you start asking them what the budget is, and they go, "No, we don't know." But you get a sense and a feel
Sure.
when you start speaking to them. However, because Malta is so diverse and there's so much to offer,
Mhm.
we have worked with any budget. So we've worked with small budgets and have done fancy and cool things.
Sure. Sure.
Mentioning a boat ride, for example, something which is a
Mhm.
little different, having a wedding done on a boat.
Mhm. Mhm.
Some might say, wow, I might need a really big budget for this. But it might not be the case, you know what I mean?
Right. Right.
And then we had over the top weddings, and the budget went out of the window in no time. But we work with all kind of budget, and you do not need to have a wow budget for you to have a cool wedding.
Cool. All right. Thank you. We do have some more comments here before we wrap up. Alexia, from Mark again. It's shortened, so I'll read it. I think this market has a much bigger potential and is underestimated. I believe that local authorities should market this more. Do you agree?
Yes, I think Malta should be much more on the map than it currently is. We need more help when it comes to certain laws. For example, one law which really bothers us wedding planners and which can be avoided is the 11 p.m. curfew. It is
Right.
understandable when a venue is in an area where there are houses, where there are buildings, where people live,
Right.
understandable. But where the venue is cut out from the rest, remove the curfew, or you see this law again, revisit this law and try and change it somehow, because it is something that we face with couples, and we come across problems, unfortunately, most of the time. And
Right.
why should we say, listen, to couples, you have the 11 o'clock curfew because we are obliged to let them know that there's a curfew. And then in reality, we know that this curfew can be amended here and there. I mean, why
Right.
overdo that? Why even tell the couple this? Why even scare them?
Yeah. Fair enough. I agree 100%. I mean, even from, nowadays, depending obviously on the age group and what you like to do in life, but I have noticed that with more time that passing, people are going out later and later. I know many of my friends, they don't even go out before, 12. It's that's unrelated to a wedding, of course. But you need to adapt with the times, and I agree. If it's disrespectful to someone who's coming from night shift, definitely it's a no-no. But there are venues that are in the middle of nowhere where they're not going to annoy anyone. So why not? It doesn't make any sense. Just be reasonable, I guess.
Absolutely.
And that would be a competitive edge for certain venues, so they should unite to fight for this, I would say.
For sure, and more marketing. I mean, um, uh, let's see Malta more often, out there and abroad, and let's market weddings because we do have the tools to do it. I mean, we're
Yeah,
eager to work.
yeah. Last comment here, Alexa. So I absolutely, yeah, when we were talking about Gozo, I absolutely love and agree with you about the beauty of Gozo. Yeah, I can't wait to go to Gozo. I feel a complete change when I go there, in my mental state. It's like so peaceful. So yeah, I can imagine the weddings as well being a big thing there.
Totally.
Okay, so we are at 50 minutes. I told you, Alexa, that time would fly. For me, it flew at least. I don't know if you have anything else that you'd like to add or sum up everything that we have said before we sign off.
One thing I would say to couples out there, if you do not have a wedding planner, speak to a wedding planner. Even if you don't engage with a wedding planner, you might change your mind. If this is the most important day of your life, you should enjoy your day. Um, Speak to your wedding planner, speak to a wedding planner, speak to your friends maybe who have gotten married before. So you try and get a feel of what to do, what not to do, what to stay away from. But yeah, let this be the best day of your life for real.
Cool. I mean, that's great advice. I mean, as a consultation, definitely it makes a lot of sense. And I actually want to plug in another question there, if I may, Alexa. So, what would your recommendation be for people, in addition to obviously consulting with a wedding planner, but when trying to find, so we have the local market where we know that they're very much involved in finding the supplies that they want. Hallili, they would have then a wedding organizer, and then you've got the foreigners who rely a lot on wedding planners. So if there's this mix, what would you recommend to couples when engaging solely with a wedding planner, and maybe a hybrid whereby they are working with you, but they do want to engage themselves with, this is the band I want, I'm going to speak to them myself, or this is the venue I want. Do you have
Absolutely.
any advice there?
Yes, we when we do local weddings, we also do the wedding on the day. So
Right,
we take that as well. Most of the time when we do that is because the couple would want or would have opted to do everything themselves, by all means.
right.
But it does not mean that we do not speak to them. At least we don't like to do that. We still like to be involved and every now and then be in touch with them. Or if not, we would have already gotten a feel of which suppliers they are going for when we
Hmm.
would have first met them. Some of them would already have engaged with some suppliers. Most of the time, more often than not, the suppliers would be good suppliers that we would have worked with, or they would be in the list of our preferred suppliers already.
Okay,
When not, we do suggest to these couples to listen. If you're not sure, let me know.
sure.
Speak to me before engaging certain suppliers. Speak to me before going on to music, for example. I might be able to help you here, there, and there. And it would be a plus for them and a plus for us because on the day we know what to expect and we know that you're going for something which is ultimately good. Whereas when we're doing everything ourselves, so when we're planning a wedding from A to Z, we have a list of supplies. We don't just have one florist, we don't just have one photographer. We have a number of
Right.
these people for various reasons, for taste, for quality, for pricing,
Hmm. Hmm.
availability. So we have our own preferred suppliers, which through the years we have selected, we have worked with them a number of times. So we go for our preferred suppliers, but ultimately we work with everyone. There
Cool.
isn't a supplier which we put down for any particular reason in reality.
Cool. Amazing. Okay. And the last question is, if I am a couple and I am looking for my wedding planner, the wedding planner for me, what are your recommendations that a couple needs to keep in mind when trying to find a wedding planner? What do they need to mark off their list?
The first thing that they need to do is to feel comfortable with the planner. Do
Right.
not go for a planner when you think that the planner either is some kind of superior thing for you or you're a bit intimidated. Do not go for a wedding planner that makes
Right.
you feel that way, or in some way you make yourself feel that way.
Right.
A wedding planner is there to guide you. Do not feel threatened by the wedding planner. So if you're already threatened, or if you think that the wedding planner is just there to take your money, do not
Hmm.
engage with the wedding planner because you will
Great.
only be worse towards your wedding. A wedding planner should be efficient. She should answer. She should make you feel special.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, she should be true to you in the sense that if there's something which you're not doing right, she should come and tell you. And you need to build a relationship. There needs to be a bond. These are things that a couple would sense immediately. So
Yeah.
even before engaging the person in reality.
Yeah, definitely. We actually wrote a blog similar to this question, like answering this question when finding supplies. You need to have harmony and chemistry, especially with the wedding planner.
Absolutely.
You're technically in a relationship with the planner, right? Because it's technically like a threesome, because she is in or he is in the middle of the most important run up to the most important day of your life, and you're interacting closer to you more and more and more.
Yes.
So if there is tension or you're not comfortable with that person, something's not right. So I definitely agree with your advice. Sound advice. Thank you so much.
You're
Just showing the last two comments. So Glor said, "Wow, time flies. Well done, guys. It was lovely. Thank you, Glor."
Thank you.
Um, and Alberto said, "Where is it here? Okay, Alexa, great show. Really well done. X.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, guys." That's it. We are at 55 minutes, so we do need to bring it to a close. It was amazing. Thank you so much, Alexia.
For
I
having
am
me.
going to
Thank you.
thank you so much. I am going to remove you from the stream and just bring the show to a close. Okay.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, so there you have it, episode 10 of the event, the Get Hitched, not Evently, live wedding chat show. Great guest today, Alexa from Wedinmalta. Really loved the questions, really loved her answers. Really love the engagement from the users. Thank you. We saw quite a high viewership today, as always. So thanks again. Thanks, Alexa, for your time, and we'll see you next time. Actually, we'll see you tomorrow for episode 11. Thank you, and have a great day. Bye bye.